Hey, what's happening, guys? Today we're making one of my favorite keto breakfast recipes. Today's recipe, it's actually inspired by my favorite breakfast recipe as a kid, and that is French toast. Now, my mom made the best French toast of all time. I think just whenever mom makes anything, it always tastes better. But today's low-carb keto French toast recipe, it gets pretty close to mom's French toast. Now, having said that, this healthy French toast recipe, it is so easy to make. And when I say that, I mean it. We're gonna be making this French toast from scratch in just about 10 minutes. Now, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the good stuff. Make some delicious keto French toast. All right, so we're gonna start things off by making a version of my favorite quick keto bread recipe. As you're seeing here, the first ingredient we'll be using to make the bread is almond flour. And for today's recipe, we'll want to add 3/4 of a cup or 86 grams of it to a medium-sized bowl. Now, once we've added that, we're also going to add 2/3 of a scoop or 22 grams of unflavored whey protein powder. And then when we've got that added to our bowl, we're gonna add a little extra sweetness to today's bread recipe by using some of this stuff, some confectioner swerve. By the way, this stuff, it doesn't have any carbs or calories, so it's really the perfect sweetener to use for today's keto French toast recipe. That said, we're gonna be adding a heaping tablespoon or 12 grams of it to our bowl. Now, we're gonna follow that up by adding a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, as well as 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Then, at this point, wanna get out a whisk and whiskify those ingredients until they're well combined. After we've taken care of that, we're gonna add just less than 1/2 cup or 100 grams of water to the bowl, and then we'll wanna use a spatula to combine those ingredients until a thick batter forms. By the way, I like to infuse my French toast with a little bit of cinnamon, so go ahead and add some of that if it sounds good to you. Anyways, once your batter is looking thick like this, that's when we'll want to coat a glass sandwich container with some baking spray and add our batter to it. Now, we want to evenly distribute the batter throughout the container, and a huge pro tip is using a wet spatula to help you do this. The batter can be quite sticky if you don't do this, so you'll definitely want to make sure you follow this tip. That said, once we've got the batter looking good, we're going to cook it for a minute and then check on it so it doesn't overflow in the container. Cook it for another minute, check on it again, and then cook it for one final minute. What we're really looking for is the top of the bread to feel firm, and when it does, we're gonna remove it from the microwave, let it cool down, and then let it set for a few minutes. Now, once it cools down a little bit, we're gonna pop it out of the container and then use a very thin bread knife to cut it in half, and then use a larger knife to cut it in quarters. All right, so our bread is looking good for our keto French toast. Now let's get the egg dip prepped for it. Typically, I'll just use one large egg to make my dip, but the grocery store didn't have any large eggs, so today I'm using 2 medium-sized eggs. Anyways, after we add the eggs to our bowl, we're gonna add a 1/2 tablespoon or about 8 grams of unsweetened vanilla almond milk, as well as a 1/2 tablespoon or 8 grams of keto maple syrup. And then lastly, we're gonna add just a pinch of cinnamon. Now we can take a fork and whip that eggy French toast dip into oblivion, which honestly just means we're gonna whip it until the yolks combine into the other ingredients. Then when that's taken care of, we're gonna give our bread a nice bath in that egg dip. Then we're gonna coat a pan with baking spray and cook our low carb French toast over medium heat. Now, this keto French toast, it does cook quickly, so you'll wanna make sure you're flipping it and checking in on it occasionally. That said, when the egg has cooked through all the way, we can remove the French toast from the pan, add it to a plate, and serve it with some fresh fruit, keto maple syrup, and confectioner swerve. And that, my friends, is how to make keto French toast from scratch in just about 10 minutes. As always, for more info on the recipe, check out the video description below, and I'll catch you in the next one.